It is Draft Spectacular Eve, Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. And right now we are in a moment that we will remember forever. Joining us live to my left, your right, on screen, AJ Hawk. Obviously, hey, AJ.
Hey,
AJ, it's great to talk to you, too. You're awesome, AJ. Love chatting with you, man. You're the best, okay? Talks the Table's here. One half of the Hammer Down Cowboys is here, Tone Diggs. And joining us live in studio, going into his 15th season in the NFL, his first as a Colt, future Super Bowl champion, ladies and gentlemen, quarterback, Matt Ryan.
Hey!
What's up, boys?
Hey. First of all, need to let everybody know this. Matt Ryan walked in with 2 4-packs of Stone Cold Steve Austin's beers. Cheers to you, Matt. Thank you for bringing a brouhaha in here. Okay.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Hey, cheers.
I gotta say,
Cheers.
congrats on the WrestleMania deal. It was cool.
Thank
Good
you,
for
man.
And a little shout out to my guy Stone Cold. Got to spend some time with him last summer, shoot a commercial, so I thought it would work out perfect.
Hey, cheers to you.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Hey, this is a great way to
man.
make some friends.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sorry, AJ. My bad, dude. I didn't send any.
Loser. AJ
I
doesn't
didn't
drink
send
beer.
any over. How you doing, man?
He went,
Good, man. How you doing? Are you excited about being there?
I am. Yeah, excited. It's going to be, a lot of fun, and obviously, 14 years in Atlanta, a long time, and so. It's hard when it ends there, as you well know, playing in one spot for a long time. But there's also a level of excitement, that's coming with this new team, new guys, really good locker room. So it's gonna be a fun year.
yeah, at what point, because of 14 years in one place, you're obviously pretty deep in the community, whether it's philanthropy, I assume some business ventures, and your name has just become synonymous with the Falcons organization. New stadium over there. I mean, at what point in this entire process did you, you had to battle with that, I assume, right? Leaving there? And at what point did you finally get to, all right, maybe it is time for a next chapter and kind of, convince yourself it'll be a good move?
Yeah, I think it was definitely hard, because, for 14 years, since I got drafted, with the draft coming up, since I got drafted for 14 years, every day I woke up, it was, what can I do to help this organization win a Super Bowl? And, the whole thing went down with, the 4 teams looking for Deshaun Watson and Atlanta being one of them. And, going through that time frame, I had to take a look, around too and see what was out there if something were to go down or whatever. And
did they tell you directly, or you just had to hear about it?
No, I talked with Arthur Smith, head coach, before. He was, it's not stuff you want to hear, but
yeah, so you were bummed about this. This was not something that you were planning on happening, because when the turnover happened, right, and new GM, new head coach, with your contract, with how long you've been around, I think the natural thought was oh, they're going to move on. But then you ball out hey, you played your fucking ass off, it felt like. Honestly, you kept going, and they kept you around. It was oh, did you assume, okay, I'm going to be in this new regime as well? It's I'm with the Falcons as opposed to organization? Or was the writing on the wall? How did that whole thing work out?
I really finished up last year thinking that there was going to be no movement, and I'd be back there and we keep moving on. But as you know, the off season goes through waves, where it kind of, you finish up, last season, and then, you take some time, you get away, and they start to make plans. And, as we were getting closer to getting back, and that kind of went down, I got the sense that, maybe it is the right time. Maybe it's time for me to move on. And it's bittersweet, you're sad that, that part of it is over because you invested so much in it. But at the same time, I'm not mad about, it was such a good time. It was 14 years. It doesn't happen for many guys. And so, I'm just proud of what we accomplished there, and, proud to have been associated. Thankful for, like you mentioned, being involved in the community, doing a lot of things from a philanthropic standpoint, and also getting to meet all the people that I met. Atlanta is a thriving city. It's booming right now. It's changed so much in the 14, 15 years I was there, and I made so many good contacts that'll be lifelong contacts for me, which is great. Now I'm excited for this next chapter.
So do you feel like you got, by the way, thank you for saying all that. Mm-hmm. That was very transparent there. And, you are a quarterback, so you guys are held up in this, the perfect human beings. So I appreciate that. But do you have you talked about a fresh start and everything like that. Does it feel like you're almost going back in time? There's a fresh energy, because you got to prove yourself to a lot of people now, right? And I assume that's how you feel about going into a building with your teammates and your coaches, and these fans are pumped for you. But I assume you're like excited to give them a dose of what a Matt Ryan-led Colts team could be as well, right?
Absolutely. You know, I kind of I'm good buddies with Matthew Stafford, so when it was all going down, you know, I kind of called him and said, "Hey, what can you expect? You know, what are some of the things you're going to go through?" And he was like, "Dude, it really feels like, you know, you're 14 years old and you're going from like 8th grade or whatever, and you're going to that first year of high school where you're a little bit nervous. You know, you're trying to show off a little bit, you know, whatever, trying to, you know, fit in, all those different things." And honestly, it does feel a lot like that. You know, you're getting to know new people, you're meeting new friends, you know, you're trying to get along with.
Hey,
with
cheers,
the
man.
new, yeah. So I mean, that part, you know, that part's exciting. You're a little anxious, whatever, but you also have that feeling of like, yeah, I need to go prove myself too. You know, I need to go prove that, you know, Mr. Irsay and Chris Ballard and Frank, you know, made a great decision in making this trade. And for me, that's exciting. I think all athletes, you know, to some level always have that chip on their shoulder or whatever, or always trying to prove something. And this is certainly one of those things you want to prove.
Go ahead, AJ.
Matty, how many systems did you play in your 14 years in Atlanta? And like, how big of a deal is it for, especially a quarterback, to digest a whole new system?
So I think I had six different coordinators in the 14 years there, which is, you know, looking back on it, you're like, there was a lot of transition. A lot of transition. Luckily, most of them went on to be head coaches, which was, it's not like they're getting fired and we were playing shitty offense or something like that.
You're like, good luck, Chuck.
Yeah, well, at the time, yeah. But it was probably really two different systems. You know, I think the biggest change for me was the end of 2014 going into 2015, where I had been with Mike Mularkey and Dirk Cutter, and it was the same terminology for, you know, my first 6 or 7 years, whatever that is. And then Kyle came in, and it was like a completely different system, totally West Coast, old school, long play calls. You know, it took like 3 minutes to get out of your mouth, and that was a hard transition. So I probably played in those two systems most of my time there with different play callers. And then, you know, this, I liken it a little bit to that transition back in 14 and 15.
So how is the, you know, transition? Because this team is built. Hey, Matt, listen, I chimed in to Kyle, who you've probably got to meet by now, athletic trainer.
Yeah. I was Kyle and EB were telling me a little story.
Legendary groups.
They were telling me a little story about you this morning.
Come on.
About a trip to, I think it was Pittsburgh for a Penguins game or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Had a good time.
They said they had a real good time.
Hey, that's a good group there. That whole building is a very
awesome.
good group of people. Like,
They're
they know
awesome.
how to win, too. They've been around. Like, you know what I mean? That whole group.
It's a cohesive building, right? Like everybody's rowing in the same direction, which to me, it's so hard to win in this league when everybody is going in the right direction. But when there's different parts of the building that might be pulling in different directions, it's damn near impossible to win. And so it's good to come into a building where it feels like that. You would know better than I. Haven't been there for a long time, but you even get that sense the first couple of weeks in the building that it's like, oh, this feels good. Like these guys have a good setup going here.
Where was it? Was there anywhere else that you had to look at because this is a super quarter? You're in a good. Hey, if you're a veteran who knows how to play football in this particular offseason and you're maybe on the move, it was a great time to potentially be there because everybody's understanding that if you don't have a quarterback, you need a quarterback. For you, whenever you came to that point where, hey, it might be another chapter going somewhere else, how many different places did you look into and what was that process like? Was your agent telling you places that maybe, like, how do you even know?
Yeah, they kind of put together a little rundown on, you know, what the landscape of the league looked like. And to be honest with you, you know, you go through it and trust me, there were a handful of spots that you know might have been interested, but as you look through the rosters, to me it was like there's one spot, you know, that really piques my interest, but it's a two-way street. You know, you can look at it and say, hey, you know, they look really good, and I'd like to be a part, but they gotta feel the same about you, and so I kind of laid it out to my agents that, hey, if and when this happens, you know, I'd like to talk to them first. This is the spot that I'm really interested in.
What, you guys Zoom, FaceTime, they travel?
We Zoomed. So it was a Saturday night, and I had never gone through any of this stuff before it, but it's you know, the hoops they got to jump through to make these meetings happen, you know, are not easy. And so initially I was supposed to do this thing at like 1 o'clock. I had T-ball. So I've got twin boys. We've got like the T-ball opening day parade.
Hey,
and it was supposed to go at 1.
Have to be there. Have to be there.
So I'm like, guys, I'm free anytime after 1 o'clock. They're like, all right, it's going to be 1 o'clock. And then, whatever hoops they have to jump through, I'm like sitting there waiting from 1 until like 6:30 waiting to get a call. I'm
Jesus!
This is a Saturday afternoon.
No, T-ball parade day.
We did it. We kind of yanked it. I mean, our
What
guy,
happened?
Colts.
Conti!
it wasn't the Colts. It would, I'm not. It doesn't matter how how I'm down. I'm not going to pin myself in that corner, but it worked out. We were on a Zoom call that Saturday night. Spent a couple, maybe 2.5 hours with those guys, and came away from it. I was up in my office in my house in Atlanta. Walked downstairs and told my wife. I said, I think that's it. I think we've got to make a move. We've got to make a transition. And
were you interviewing them? Them interviewing you? Both.
I think a little bit of both. I think they had certainly done their homework going into it, as had I. And then you kind of get going. You get talking, and they start talking football. Frank starts going with it, and I'm listening, and then asking questions about. In my head saying, okay, that's similar to a concept that I ran before. What do you guys do versus this? And
so you guys are talking like high-level football right there. You guys are trying to say who's smarter football brain right now?
I wasn't. I'm just saying,
There's only a couple
are
of
we
you
going to
guys.
have answers? Are we going to have answers how we do this? I got to know.
And Frank was able to keep up. That's great news. And Chris,
I know.
And I want to let you know, this town, whenever there was no moves made, by free agency with how much money the Colts had and everything. And then at the quarterback position, we shipped Carson Wentz out of town, and literally there's just no quarterback. And it's like, what are the Colts doing? What are the Colts doing? And all Chris Ballard kept saying was just be patient with his southern accent.
A good accent.
Yeah, whatever the hell
good.
he says, and he's incredible at his job. I think it's very apparent with the roster and everything like that. And then whenever it was announced that you were coming here, man, they would have had a fucking T-ball parade for you here. Honestly, this place is like very excited for you to be here, man, because I think if you look at the roster, and let's talk about the roster because you said you looked at some other places, that roster with the offensive line, you have pillars standing in front of you, like literally Colts pillars, organization. And behind you, in Jonathan Taylor, like I texted Kyle to ask you, like, hey, what do you know about Jonathan Taylor? Like, hey, this dude is different. Yeah. I got a chance to see him. He can go. The defense is stacked. I don't know what Chris Ballard's got in store for the draft, but when you look at that roster, is this the best roster? No offense to any roster in Atlanta. This is not to be taken that way.
Yeah.
But when on paper, it feels like this roster is maybe one of the best you've ever been on, right?
I think it's one
on
of
paper.
It's one of them. I think I was fortunate. I played on some good teams. There in Atlanta, I think of 2012, we had a really good football team. You talk about skill positions. You throw out a Roddy White, Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez, Mike Turner in the backfield.
Jeez,
we had some guys. We had some guys. But I do think this roster is built to win. There's no doubt about it. Nothing's guaranteed. We got to go earn it, and that's what I'm excited for. But it's good. I mean, you talk about the offensive line. I'm in there like we're lifting weights this time of the year, and you go in, and I'm like, holy shit, these guys are big, and not that like big and soft. They're like big and like ripped.
Yeah.
And it's
two top 100 players in the NFL on that offensive line.
I know that makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel real good.
It should. Wreck-It Ralph, Quentin Nelson is just an absolute game changer. As soon as he got on our team, it changed everything.
He's a beauty. So my cousin plays for the San Francisco 49ers. My cousin played at Notre Dame with Q. And so I've kind of followed him for a long time from afar, just watching my cousin being like, oh, man, Mike, you're playing good, but this other guard's pretty good too. Like you guys got a nice little offensive line here. And he's nasty. He's but like that genuine nasty,
yes.
Like not the fake tough. Mm-hmm. And I think he just I haven't played with him, but watch him from afar, it feels like the guys feed off that energy, and that level of finish, and not putting up with anything, and kind of protecting the guys around him. I think that's huge.
Great dude to stand behind. Go ahead, AJ.
Matty, you're so well spoken and put together, like what a franchise quarterback wants. I think you make people feel good in Indianapolis. I know you make Pat feel good. That you are under center there. But you ever you've seen these guys get monster contracts to do TV? Have you thought about future TV gigs you may do? And also, I bet your kids would love if you bought Tony Stewart. I think has a $30 million house.
Oh yeah.
It's hour and a half south. Looks
like
south.
Yeah.
It's a Cabela's.
Yeah, I'm not getting the Cabela's up here. Maybe something slightly more modest, but a little bit about what's next. But I don't feel like I'm there yet. Honestly, I still feel really good. My body feels really good. Still feel like I can play at a high level, and so from that standpoint, I feel like the competitive fire is still there. And this is still since I've can remember, this is all I've ever wanted to do. Like literally all I ever wanted to do was play quarterback in the NFL, wherever it was. And I still feel that way. And, I'm sure, hopefully in, a number of years, that'll be a decision we have to make. But
Yeah, like 7 years, I'm saying.
yeah, seven.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Hey,
But I'm saying, right now you look at some of the older guys been playing that play similar to the way I play. I think there's different ways to play. I know you guys have Aaron on here all the time, and I think those guys who are pocket guys that get the football out. I think there's
So you envision yourself,
with all the rule changes too. I mean, it's different from when I first got into the league, and you're protected, much differently than we were at that point. So I think there is, if you take care of yourself, you do the right things, if you want to, and if you're playing at a high level, there's an opportunity to play, longer than ever before.
So we have brainstormed numerous times because you talk about Aaron coming on here with what Tom's doing, where he's eating like avocado ice cream and stuff like that. And by the way, you look fantastic. You brought in some beers. That's amazing. You're human. That's unbelievable. But if you look at what's going on with the rules changes, everything you're talking about, we've always talked like if you're Aaron could play another 10 years if he wanted to, almost with how good a shape he's in. You are having that exact same conversation as the world is changing. I find that interesting that you're acknowledging that and being like, yeah, I think I can play a lot longer if I can just keep my body together. Do you do any weird shit? And how do you feel about like how you've transitioned in treating your body?
I've been lucky. I haven't had many nagging things, and so and the big ones are like knees, back, neck, those kind of things. And I've been fortunate, and hopefully I'll continue to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Found some wood to knock on right over here.
But that's fake wood.
Yeah, I work hard. My belief on, is everything in moderation, including moderation. So, it's.
Oh, that's a next level.
Yeah. So it's okay to have a beer every once in a while, or 10, whatever.
Hell yeah.
Sometimes.
So same diet you've always done? You haven't gone through like a full change?
No, I've changed. I've changed a lot since.
Do you have a body guru?
Not really. My wife, she's
Russell Wilson pays $1 million a year. We saw a post. Russell Wilson had an arm guy, a leg guy, a foot guy, a wrist guy, a cardio guy, and an upper body guy.
Yeah.
And then the Peloton guy was putting an Air Force mask on him.
Yeah, that's right.
He has an entire team. They talk about it. LeBron James, I think he has an entire team. Like these Tom Brady has an entire fucking company that goes around it. You don't do any of that.
Not quite to that extent.
I like hearing this. This is good for the Colts.
Yeah.
This is good for the Colts.
guy.
Yeah,
My belief
beer.
is, I went out to see Adam Dado, who's kind of in that Tom House tree. So I went and saw Adam and Tom House.
Who are they?
They're like throwing arm care guys that kind of help you train the way you do.
Shout out to Dado and House.
Yes, awesome, right? And so they're great guys and have helped me a bunch. But I went to them in 2015, and I've stuck with that program to maintain your shoulder, maintain your elbow, maintain your low back, maintain kind of those throwing muscles. And I'm pretty religious about that. And then, from a training standpoint, I've always been in two places. Like in Atlanta, we had a really good setup, and people who took care of your body really well. And then you come here and it. Like you walk into that building and you start to spend time with these guys and you say, I don't have to go outside the house. We've got really good people in the building here. In the sports science department, here in Indy's, they're pretty awesome too. I mean, like,
yes.
And like, I never seen this thing, Note Meal or whatever that they have that you have to order your meals on, but it like does the macros of like your breakdown on exactly what you're eating. And I'm like, shit, I could be a little tighter than I was.
That's some information I never heard before.
Yeah. So I think that stuff's really going to help me out as well.
I told you about this as we were walking in, but I feel like Jim Irsay wants to win a couple Super Bowls for the grandkids, and he made a promise to this city.
That's right, two.
Multiple in the same decade. But I think Jim Irsay, like you're talking about with these note meals and sports science and the building and everything, Jim Irsay's going all in right now. And I think you are another signing of that. Stephon Gilmore, they just signed. Like, it feels like the ownership all the way. Have you met Jim Irsay? What have your interactions been with him? And he is a beauty, that guy.
Yeah, he seems great. So I have not met him in person, but I've talked to him on the phone, and we've had kind of a handful of back and forths. And you can tell everything in the building is done with the mindset on winning, right? There's nothing that they're doing that's just for show or for there's a purpose behind everything they do. And as a player, that's really all you can ask for. I don't need like the bells and whistles. It doesn't need to look great, and the facility looks fine. I'm not saying that, but like it needs to be set up with winning in mind. What are the things we can invest in that are going to help us win? And I think, from my short time here, I feel like they've done a really good job of keeping the mindset on what's going to help us win.
You heighten everybody else too, by the way. As soon as you walk in the building, there's people that are going to step their job up because it's like, hey, Matt Ryan can get there and win. And I want us to have a great relationship, you and me. But I have to bring something up that is terrible. And I have terrible memories in my sports career, and they are awful. You have one that gets referenced all the fucking time. And it has to be very, very...
I'm going to take a big sip of this.
Hey, cheers. As we dive into this,
Cheers.
this is where we become better friends. This is where we got to get in there, because I'm intrigued to hear your thought process behind it all, because I've had to deal with a terrible situation in sports where the backlash still continues to haunt me to this day, both on Twitter, social media, and in my mind. In that situation, a lot of decisions were made, whatever. How do you use that every single day? And is it something that you think you'll ever be able to fully move past?
Well, I think it's always somewhere in there, right?
Yes.
I think it's always somewhere in there. And I don't see that as a bad thing, right? Like, obviously would have loved for that game to have gone differently. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. But didn't. And there's not shit we can do about it now. And so, if you don't use that as a learning opportunity, like as an opportunity to be better and to be better the next time you're in it, then it's wasted, right? It's one of those scars that you accumulate throughout your life that's wasted, right? You don't learn from it. And so I do think it makes you like, I don't know the right word to say, but like harder. Like
callous.
Yeah, callous. Callous is perfect. Yeah. That's why you do what you do. Good with the words. But it does make you calloused. And I think that's good, because I think that in order to win playoff games, in order to win championships, it takes a hard mindset. It takes a calloused team. And I think that, as a result of going through that the last time, whenever, hopefully we can get that opportunity, I think you have that calloused mindset of going in there and saying, no, it's never over, either way. And we got to find a way to get the job done. And, I'm thankful in a small way, for that.
Do you think you still have the same competitive fire now if that doesn't happen?
That's a good question. Probably not, because it,
Hey, I want to let you know the Colts are thankful what happened there.
We're
thankful you're here, man.
Frank started the team meeting off last week. He was talking about, the end of last year and kind of summing up the last year and that being the last time we talk about it. And he was like, can't change it, wouldn't change it. And because it's brought us to the point where we're at. And in my head, I'm like, well, there are some things I would like to, some things I want to change. Just one small thing. But, he's not wrong. I think there are things that happen in your life that get you to the point where you're at. And, I think they make you into the person you need to be ready for that next great opportunity. And I'm excited about that.
Hey, we're pumped for it as well. And cheers to you answering that.
Yeah. Cheers.
I appreciate that. I was trying to figure out how to ask it. But, you showed up with Stone Cold's beers.
Right.
I just assumed, we should just ask it. But now that you are, in a position to make a run again in that building? You've been in there meeting. How has it gone? Introducing yourself to everybody. Who are some of the people that, you've been kind of taken back and surprised by? Like, leader in the locker room. Are you a vocal leader in the locker room? How have you found, like, making new friends? Because this is probably something that's different. Everybody was coming into your locker room before. Now you're coming into somebody else's.
Yeah, for sure. That part is definitely different. Even when it was new teammates coming in, there was still that sense of like, hey, I know how the operation runs around here. And if I see, doing something that either goes against what we were doing or whatever, you're in that position to say, hey, that's not how we do it here.
Your resume warrants respect.
Correct. And just the time spent in the same building, right? There's always those guys that have been around that building for a long time. And regardless of what their position is, there's a level of respect that comes with that because they've been doing something right.
Yes.
Right? Like if you're staying in the same place for a long time, you've been doing a lot of things right. And it's different for me coming into that building. But guys, I've been surprised by, like a DeForest Buckner to me.
He's massive.
Big dude. There's no question about that. But just like, we're in the training room or whatever, getting treatment in the morning, and you hear this guy talk and like, he's like a special human, like a really, really good dude, as professional as they come, great mindset. He spoke in front of the team the other day about what the objectives for the offseason were, and you were like, wow, that was like, and some of those things, you've sat in those. Some of them you're like, oh my God, why did you choose him?
It feels so uncomfortable.
Why would you choose him, right?
And,
but he finished up and you're like, man, that was really good. Like, that was well done. So he's been impressive.
All-pro, by the way, too. So not only...
great player. And that only adds to it, right? Like, there are certain guys, we've all played with them that, are unbelievable players, but not necessarily like... They're not the leaders. It's not always the guys that are the best players that are in the leadership positions. But it's awesome when your best players are the best leaders.
Yes.
Like that to me is when you've hit it. And he's one of them. Darius Leonard, awesome. I mean, loud. I get in the locker room, music's going, he doesn't shut up. They're playing cornhole, they're doing all that stuff, and he's pretty damn good at cornhole too.
Yeah, I've heard that whole locker room.
The whole locker room's good.
Yeah.
They were like, "You want to play?" I was like, "Let me see you guys play first." Nah, I'm good right now. I'm gonna have to practice this summer.
Hey, you will get hustled in the locker room too, in cornhole or any other game that happens as well. Not you. I'm just saying.
No doubt.
In an NFL locker room,
anybody.
You are trying. You were trying to get got at any point at that time.
So that's why I didn't play the first day. I'm like, let me see how this is going first.
14 years in the NFL.
Yeah, a little bit of experience. But it's been good. On the offensive side of the ball, we got to throw yesterday. I threw with Nyheim Hines. He's
backflip in full pads.
Unreal.
That guy.
I mean, crazy athleticism, super fast, really good hands out of the backfield. A worker. The one thing I have been really impressed with coming in is the way the guys work. There is, and I always think that's the best combination is where you can be loose in the locker room, you can be loose walking out onto the field, and then the whistle blows and everybody locks in and you go. And I think they're young. They might need a little bit of guidance in certain directions, but the culture part, like that part of it, has been really cool to see coming into.
Go ahead, AJ.
Hey, how fast into that Zoom meeting with the Colts executives did you know, hey, this is my spot?
Pretty quick.
Oh, yeah?
Pretty quick.
10:15, had to play hard to get there for 2 hours and 15 minutes?
Yeah. I should have been like, guys, let's save each other some time. This is going to be good. I knew pretty quick, Chris, one of the things I loved was the Zoom meeting started and Chris kind of, gives a bio of his time in Indianapolis. And the thing I loved was it wasn't a highlight reel. He's like, here's some of the things we did well. Here's some of the things I screwed up. I wish I could, And to me, like, that is the stuff that sells you. It is the self-accountability, the not being scared to make a mistake. If we do, we correct it. Because that stuff happens. And I think one of the things that can hurt a team is sometimes when you don't acknowledge some of the mistakes that you made, you kind of hang on too long. And, that part to me, he said that, and then Frank started talking, and going through, his beliefs on how they could get better and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good.
Oh, you guys want me to talk now?
Yeah.
Well, I played in Atlanta a long time.
Yeah.
Hey, Frank, let's see who's smarter in football. I like that definitely happened, by the way. That 1,000% happened. You know it. I know it. You two going out, who can out football IQ each other? Because there's only a few of you guys that can have those conversations these days.
He can go toe-to-toe with anybody. He started going, I'm like, shouldn't ask that question.
That's like whenever people watch the Manning cast, and another, like Russell was in there talking to Peyton, and Eli was chiming in, but he's not really, doesn't dive into all the conversations, but Peyton and Russell, you could hear them both trying to out-football each other, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. I love when this is happening.
Some guys you have to defer to, though, right? Like there's a handful of guys that when they go, you're just like, yep.
Like Peyton.
Yeah. Peyton, Tom, those guys have, they just, especially the guys that were before you, and that's one of the things I respect so much about Frank too, is like having played the position, having come in and played in a backup role, like greatest comeback in the history of the NFL.
And college.
I know. Maybe it's the second greatest comeback in the history of the NFL. Probably. Which is hard. Anyhow,
it's fucked up.
A little.
Yeah, a little bit.
But when he goes, but then having played with Jim Kelly for so long, there's just there's a level of respect that you have for that position, and I think all the guys who really, love football, who love, playing the game, you hold the position, like playing the position in a certain regard. And it was cool to hear Frank, talk that way. And, I have so much respect for how he goes about it.
When Tom Brady comes to AFC South, did you have a relationship with him prior to that? You went to BC, and he was probably up there at the same time. I don't know if you guys ever met them, but you said Tom and Peyton. Is there guys that you looked at that like inspired the way you play? And was there people that you were learning from while still in the league, even here in the later years, or anybody like that?
Yeah, those guys were the guys, because they were like that. I saw them play in college. I saw them play in the NFL before I even got to college, and so you have this like, man, that's what I want to be
fan,
like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I got to know both of them. I got to know Tom, not while I was at BC. We didn't have that great of a following, like fan base or whatever. It wasn't that big of a deal. Boston college football, and I love it. And
Matty Ice, come
on,
the biggest deal. Matty Ice, dude.
Yeah. We had a good run. But it's a professional sports town. Mm-hmm. So I got to know him after I got drafted, and it would be a text message here or there, kind of a little bit of back and forth. But he was always super helpful, throughout my career. Of if I needed something or text him about something, he would get back to you. And then he came to the NFC South, and I was like, really? All the other divisions, like really?
Yeah. And then a retirement home happened down there, basically.
I know, and so they've had a good setup. So he was one of the guys I looked up to. Drew was another, and I had to play against Drew Brees, every year for 13 years. I mean, it was, just as good as they come, man. Just a competitor, never out of it. Always knew, regardless of what team he was rolling in with, you always knew you had to go out there and put up points, because he was going to find a way.
Do all quarterbacks get along with each other?
It's one of those positions I kind of think they do.
Yeah, have to, right? Because you guys are the only ones that really understand.
Yeah, for whatever reason, there's just a lot of the guys that I've met along the way. We're all kind of cool to each other. You're closer with some than you are with other, but exactly.
You all golf.
We all golf, and
you're going to golf today. It looks like.
Yeah, maybe. I told you this story before I came on. I was saying a wise old coach, Keith Armstrong, was our special teams coach in Atlanta for like 11 or 12 years. And one of the days he was, it was early on in my career, and I asked him, I'm like, Keith, you going golfing this afternoon? You're in a polo. He's like, Matt. He's like, let me give you a piece of advice. He was like, you dress up in golf attire every day so that nobody actually knows how much golf you're playing. And I was like, some genius to that, right? Yeah. You don't want to be the guy who's playing too much, or whatever. So if you show up in it every day, but in fact, I am. I'm gonna go play with some of the teammates this afternoon.
You a good player? You a good player?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
You're real good.
I'm okay.
What do you shoot? Like 73?
Yeah, I'm usually
he's
like
better.
low mid 70s, something like that. But
That's pretty good.
You had
I
so
feel
much
like
fun.
I feel like
You had
know,
so much fun when
God.
you're golfing. That has to be so much fun.
What's that
You
called?
go
Like a plus handicap?
at times I have been plus. I'm currently
Jesus.
not. Yeah, I'm currently.
Oh, so you're really fucking.
Very-
No. I'm okay.
Oh, shut up.
Humble too. Yeah.
Oh, shut
Well, here's
up.
the thing, though. There's levels of good, right? So I've gotten to play with some like really good players.
Play growing
PGA
up?
Tour. No, I didn't. I played football, basketball, and baseball all the way through high school. So we would,
Started when you got in the NFL.
yes. So I mean, you got to figure out what to do with the off-season time, right? And in Atlanta, I was saying it a little bit before, you have beautiful winter weather, right? And so you're golfing, whenever you finish up, you're golfing, I'd work out in the morning. And at the time, I was only dating my wife. But at the time, I had, she was working. And so she wouldn't get home till like 6:30. I'd be done at like 9. I'd be like, all right, I gotta fill this void. And let's not fill it with something that's going to, get my ass out of the league real quick. So golf was a good choice.
So you said whenever you play alongside people, who do you play? You play against like Tiger?
Well, I've never played with Tiger.
Oh man, what's the deal? This guy stinks. You never played with Tiger Woods? Dude, that's amazing.
I played with Phil a handful of times.
Recently?
I haven't talked to him recently. This is prior to all of this stuff, but he was really cool to me. But I've gotten to know some of those tour players, and then you play with them, and you think like, oh man, I'm getting better, and then you go and
They cook you?
oh my god, get dusted. I mean, they're good. They're just a different level of. I mean, people probably tell you all the time, I could do this, I could kick, I could put, and you're like, oh yeah, and then you see them doing, it, and you're like, you suck,
Yeah, that's valid. That's a valid point.
That's what they think of like even decent country club golfers.
Isn't it just you versus the course though? Like,
Bullshit. I think it is you. To me, it's all about the bet.
what's on the line? What do we got?
Yeah.
Are you a wolf player? You like to go? What do you play?
Am I what?
Wolf in the game. Wolf.
Oh, I like Wolf. I like Wolf. We play some Wolf. We play this game Hammer. We play
Hammer. That'll cost you.
Yeah. Well.
Especially when Hammer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who plays this game. We call it Vegas, and it's like a cumulative team score, and there's a dollar amount to whatever you're playing, and whoever's down can kind of alter whatever the dollar value is.
Why don't you? Do you play any of these celebrity tournaments or anything like that? And how do you do?
I did okay. I played in that American Century tournament like my first 4 years, but the timing is tough. When you're still playing and you're on the East Coast, the timing was tough because it's like a week or two right before training camp, and it's it was kind of hard to get to. And so when I got married and then had the kids, it kind of cuts in at a hard time where you're doing some of that family vacation before you get to training
You
camp.
think you could compete in that though?
Well, I don't know. It's been probably 10, 11 years since I played. I'm a much better player now than I was then.
Conti, get his fucking ass in the
here we
tournament.
go. Get him the
I
top.
need the
I'm not
Colts
going.
quarterback to
when
win.
I'm done, I'll go. When I'm done playing.
I mean, you could win it. You shooting low 70s. I mean, you could.
Yeah,
compete
you've been
for
out.
sure.
You've been out. I mean,
He's there every
that
year.
one's about. It's like
I almost won the last couple
don't
years.
make any double bogeys and make some birdies.
This is my first year there this year.
You're playing?
Yeah, man.
You're gonna love it. AJ. I mean, it is an awesome time. It is. I used to go out. So my younger brother and my older brother would go with me, and we would fly out to Vegas for like 3 days beforehand, and then go to Tahoe after that and get dialed in.
That's a
for
good
everything.
idea. Smart.
It was-
a great
I
idea.
think that's what
Yeah.
you need to do. That was my typical routine.
Boom.
And
won't be
and you
tired
would
at all
get
when
done.
How old were you? You were 20 something though.
I was young. I got
Yeah,
a funny
exactly.
story from when we were out there. So I don't know if I'll put names on it, but
Smart.
my
Don't, by the
my
way.
younger brother, he would caddy for me, and he was in high school and college at the time. And so I went like, they asked you, would you like to play as an amateur or professional? And I'm like, well, what's up? And they were like, well, if you play as a professional, you get whatever money, whatever place you. I was like, I'll play as a pro. And so I would tell my younger brother, he would caddy. And so he and my older brother would alternate days. And so my younger brother, I said, hey, whatever I make,
You're a pro golfer.
you'll get it. You'll get it. Not anymore. I think I've got my amateur status back. But it's been so long. But so anyhow, we're at this dinner. They have like a welcome dinner or something one of the nights. And so my younger brother's he's like 18 years old or 17 years old. And we're sitting at this dinner, and there's this legendary head coach who was retired at the time who had like a winery. and we're sitting around talking, and we're drinking wine and all this stuff, and they're going around the table asking the everybody what they do, and they get to my younger brother, and they're like, "So John, what do you do for a living?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a senior in high school."
Hammer drunk.
Just smashing their wine, drinking it like it was beer. Yeah, it was funny.
Golf trips are awesome. I can't wait to go out there. Good luck this afternoon, golf. And the boys have some questions for you. Is that all right?
Yeah, let's go.
Go ahead, Ty.
Matt, you mentioned having a chip on your shoulder too, like every competitor does, and that you want to play several more years. Does it piss you off at all? I feel like these last few years, like your name doesn't really get mentioned with those really elite guys. And as a Packers fan, I mean, I've watched you fucking gut them time and time again. Does that ever get to you at all, or is it one of those things where you've played for so long, you know what you're capable of, you know what you can do, so you really don't give a shit what the media is saying?
Yeah, I think the older you get, the less you care. There's no doubt about that because
Calloused.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that, and I think you stop worrying about what other people say. You start valuing more the opinions of the people you trust. I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can do. And I'm confident, in my ability. But it's always nice to prove those people wrong too. There's still that part of you that's like, you don't really know what you're talking about, and I'm going to show you.
Yeah,
and
Drew
so,
Brees said, "Give me all of that." He said.
Yeah. I think it's so different now too because it's just constant. Even my first couple of years, it wasn't as constant. Whether it's Twitter or it's people coming at you or anything. I think it's just more constant now. So you become numb to it to a certain extent, but you also, it's not bad to prove people wrong.
Hey, you and Julio still get along pretty well?
What's
It's a young wide right now.
Hey, give him a call.
Just slid it in there. Just slid that in there. That was nice.
Well, I was just proving people wrong. I think he's got
That's right.
Julio like do that too. A lot of people say bad things about Julio.
Yeah.
That guy was a distraction, bad for the Titans, they said.
Young white
Yeah, he's got so much to prove still.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
He's an absolute specimen in my eyes. You still talk to him ever?
Yeah.
Good relationship.
Yeah, very good. I love him. So we played 10 years together. And
Is he free agent?
He's available right now.
Really?
Yeah, he's available. Draft spectacular tomorrow. Would be cool right before then.
Chris is on.
Chris Bauer knows. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah, 10 years together.
awesome guy. Awesome dude. Great player. Great teammate. Nobody impacted, and I played with some great players, but nobody impacted my career as significantly as he did. And I really enjoyed it. He was one of the best players you'll ever play with. Also an excellent card player.
I was about to say.
Big on the back of the plane. He was one of the guys I played Tonk with all the time on the flights home. So
Tonk, good game.
good game.
Good.
And not many people know it.
Tonk, great game.
Great game.
Yeah.
Cash changes quickly.
Quickly.
Which is good because you just got to get hot late. As soon as that flight's coming down, you need to get hot and then roll.
I saw Julio playing, and I was about to say, I saw him playing blackjack in the Bahamas at a resort or whatever. And I saw it was at the pool, and I saw this human. He was wearing a white cloth tank top, and he was playing every single hand or whatever, and his shoulders ate up the next seat over in the middle of it. And I was like, God damn, that's the biggest motherfucker I've ever seen. So I get out of the pool. I am rather intoxicated, and I just do a peer over, and I look. I'm like, fuck, that's a wide receiver in the end. That is Julio fucking Jones. He is massive. The sheer size and athleticism of him. I mean, what a prototype for a fucking wide receiver. And he's a good dude. That's great news.
Yeah, great dude. He was an awesome teammate. But he's as physically gifted as anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Stud.
He should be a Colt. Yeah. Go Colts.
Yeah. I
Connor.
don't know about that. But you mentioned talking to Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Did you reach out to Phillip Rivers at all? Just because he did the same thing and came here to Indy?
I did. Yeah. I talked to Phillip, as the process was starting to get going, just to pick his brain about coming in, about Frank, about Chris, about his time here, what he thought. Another guy I played against for a long time and have so much respect for. And he was great, really insightful, really helpful, really honest. And, he's one of the good dudes.
Tom.
I don't know if I just noticed it more last year, specifically the 49ers game. you were just putting your head down and running, trying to run through people. And I feel like at 35, 36 years old, and I feel like I saw you bleeding a few times last year, more than a few times last year. Was that just because like you felt you had to make plays more with that roster or situation? Like, I mean,
People calling you soft. You're trying to prove yourself.
I mean,
I'm quite comfortable with my level of toughness. You know? I'm good with that. Yeah, I don't know. I think you do get a feel for the team you're on, how you're going to win games, what you have to do to help the team win games, and that's different every year. I love the guys on the roster I was with last year. Man, they played hard. They gave you everything they had. But we had to find ways to do the job, and that was one of them. You know, in certain situations, you know, you've got to get out and you've got to try and make a play. I'm not trying to run people over often, but sometimes you got to. I got smoked on the one end.
Hey, let's not do that.
That was a bad mistake.
Hey, hold on.
I went in and then I was like, oh no.
Yeah, let's not. Hey, we need that not happen.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that. Yeah, last year we had a quarterback sprain both of his ankles one play.
I know that. From afar, I was like, how?
Yeah, it was painful. And guess what? He got right back out there. He tried to do it again. And that was almost like it was scary to watch him play because his highs were so high. He was so good.
Sure.
But then he was like, he literally did not care about his body at all. So as I'm hearing you talk about wanting to run people over.
No.
Oh my God.
I think you misheard. I don't want to
Matt
run
Ryan
people
said,
over.
I will run motherfuckers. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Couple quick questions though that we have to get cleared up.
Okay.
You walk into a store, okay, and it's like a farming store.
Oh man.
Okay.
This is new. This is new to me.
No, I think you'll get it right. I think you'll get it
Hopefully.
right.
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply. There's a John Deere tractor right here, and then there's a Bobcat tractor right here. Which one are you more likely to purchase, Matt?
John Deere. Hell yeah! My dad had one growing up.
All you need to know. That is all you need to know.
Oh yeah.
All right, that was the only question.
Holy shit.
All right, that was the most important part of this whole thing.
Super Bowl for sure.
Yeah,
bucket.
Super Bowl. Do you want to guarantee a Super Bowl or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say thank you enough, dude. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for being cool. Thank you for the beer.
Right.
Steve Austin's Broken Skull American Lager. Also available as an IPA. I drank 55 of these WrestleMania night. They were delicious.
They are pretty good, man.
They're very
That's my
good.
first one.
Yeah, very good.
It's pretty good.
First one, bad friend. You said you were friends with Steve. You didn't.
I know. This is bad. Steve, my bad.
Yeah, I know.
I'll get on it.
No, we're past it. New chapters, new
That's right.
beginnings.
That's
right.
First
New
one in
stories.
My body guru told me like
Ladies and gentlemen, the new quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. We can't thank you enough for your time. Good luck with everything, Matthew Ryan. All right, we're back tomorrow at noon. We'll go noon to 2 tomorrow. Then obviously the Draft Spectacular starts at 8. New vlog at 7:50. Same link. We'll launch that tomorrow. Thank you to all of our guests. Thank you, Matt Ryan. You are the best,
Matt.
dude.
Thank you, guys.
AJ, you're the best. Everybody, cheers. We'll see you tomorrow. Big day tomorrow. Everybody get rest.
Here we go.
Tomorrow's a big day. Draft Spectacular day. Cheers. See you then.